We begin in the Grapefruit League, where the Bronx Bombers have locked up their elite defensive center fielder. Yankees manager Aaron Boone said Saturday that Aaron Hicks was underrated. This morning, Hicks and the Pinstripers agreed to a 7-year, $70 million contract extension that will keep him off the free agent market. The deal begins this season when the switch-hitting Hicks was scheduled to make $6 million. The 29-year-old is coming off a career year in homers, RBIs, games played, and runs scored. Yanks opened the spring training slate over the weekend, where Gleyber Torres and Luke Voit both had highlight reel homers. The New York Mets were back in business as well, where Pete Don't Call Me Peter Alonso homered for the Amazons. The star rookie first baseman will likely make it tough on the Mets to keep him down on the farm. The boy can hit, and he'd like to be called Pete from now on. Meanwhile, Mets ace Jacob deGrom showed that he's human, allowing a run in spring action. The reigning Cy Young winner was throwing 97 miles per hour in his first spring training start. Nonetheless, spring training scores may not mean much, but fans will key in on little things like that. No small news at Madison Square Garden last night. The Knicks beat the San Antonio Spurs to end an 18-game home losing streak. Damian Dotson scored 27 points, and the Orange and Blue snapped their franchise record home losing streak with a 130-118 victory over the Spurs. The Brooklyn Nets, sitting at 31-30, will host San Antonio tonight in Brooklyn. The Knicks are back in action tomorrow night at the Garden, welcoming Orlando for a 7:30 p.m. tip-off. On the ice, it was an emotional trade deadline for the New York Rangers. After plenty of speculation, Mats Zuccarello was finally moved. He was sent to Dallas, where he's now in the playoff picture, sort of. Zuccarello was acquired in exchange for 2 conditional draft picks, a second-rounder in 2019 and a third-rounder in 2020, to help the Stars generate more goals. At the time of the trade, they had the third-worst offense in the NHL, averaging only 2.51 goals per game. However, the newly acquired winger is expected to miss at least 4 weeks after suffering an injury while blocking a shot in his Stars debut Sunday. Zuccarello, a longtime fan favorite for the Broadway Blue Shirts, was acquired by the Stars on Saturday. He scored before the injury. The Rangers fell to Washington 6-5 Sunday in D.C. The New Jersey Devils will welcome Montreal to the Prudential Center tonight. Puck drops at 7 p.m. The Islanders will skate against Calgary Tuesday night on Long Island. Puck drops at Nassau Coliseum at 7. Time for some quick hitters. New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft and others may be formally charged with soliciting a prostitute as early as Monday afternoon, according to reports. The 77-year-old billionaire is among dozens of men accused of paying workers at Orchards of Asia Day Spa for sex acts in Jupiter, Florida. Police said they have the 2 video recordings showing Kraft inside the strip mall massage parlor between January 18th and January 22nd, shortly before his team won its 6th Super Bowl. College basketball gasped Wednesday night when Zion Williamson of Duke injured his knee against North Carolina. By now, most have heard of Williamson's sneaker malfunction and the player's resulting unfortunate injury. He's day-to-day. Some used it as an opportunity to poke fun at Nike and the brand's manufacturing, while others, which included notable NBA players such as DeMarcus Cousins and Ben Simmons, took shots at the NCAA and NBA for having age restrictions that basically force high school players to play at universities and colleges for free and risk their health before they even had a chance to sign their first professional contract. That rule could soon be changing back in the NBA. Zion wasn't the biggest story Wednesday night in college hoops. That actually came off the hardwood. Syracuse coach, Jim Boeheim, was involved in a fatal car accident. The legendary coach said the accident he was involved in Wednesday night that resulted in the death of Jorge Jimenez is something that will be with me for the rest of my life. Syracuse held a moment of silence for Jorge Jimenez, who was struck and killed by a vehicle driven by Coach Boeheim. Jimenez's family said that it's devastated by the news, of course. Boeheim took the court Saturday night for the first time since Wednesday's tragic accident, exiting the locker room with 2 minutes, 33 seconds remaining before tip-off against Duke. The record crowd at the Carrier Dome gave him a massive standing ovation. On to some better news. Manny Machado is heading to sunny San Diego. The star lands a $300 million deal to play with the Padres. Still no update on Bryce Harper. Reports say the LA Dodgers are back in the conversation. The Philadelphia Phillies have also touched base again with Harper's camp. I would assume that it's the Dodgers, the Phils, or his current team, the Washington Nationals, still in play for Harper's services. But who knows? I don't think anyone expected the Padres to land Manny Machado. Last weekend, weekend, I kicked another item off my sports bucket list, taking in the Daytona 500. Here are some highlights from the race, courtesy of yours truly. Kevin Harvick and Jimmy Johnson were in the race late, but a series of crashes really changed the landscape over the final laps. That opened the door for Denny Hamlin. Hamlin won his second Daytona 500 in 4 years, taking the checkered flag for Joe Gibbs Racing a month after Joe Gibbs' oldest son died following a long battle with a degenerative neurological disease. J.D. Gibbs was only 49 years old. Hamlin moved out front after a final restart and had teammate Kyle Busch blocking in the final lap. Busch finished second, followed by another JGR teammate, Eric Jones. Defending Cup Series champ Joey Logano was fourth. Joe Gibbs Racing and Fox Sports paid tribute to J.D. Gibbs early in the race. The team and the television network recognized Gibbs during the 11th lap of the Daytona 500. Gibbs' favorite number was 11, the car number Hamlin has been driving since the team had him going in 2005. Of course, he won the Daytona 500. Amazing experience. February has only a few days left in it. Our Bronxnet cameras got to see Daytona and the Super Bowl just a few weeks back in Atlanta. Here are some highlights of that as we move into March.
We've gone, our defense had to really step up in certain times, in certain situations, pride ourselves on situational football, and we anticipate being in a situation where we need to get off the football field as a particular defense, whether that's a turnover or just getting off on third down or fourth down, and that's our goal to do that.
Our culture is we work hard and we ignore the noise and stay out of trouble and continue to grind day in and day out, and it's going to be hard. You know, you're going to have pads, or you don't have pads, you're going to have to work, but, I mean, it's all worth it.
I think that's just, part of this team being relentless. There's a lot of up and down moments throughout the season, and, we just kept fighting, we didn't keep up. And we kind of knew that, around that time is when you want to play your best ball, fall trickling into the playoffs or whatever. And, we weren't going the way we wanted to go, and, we just kind of had to have a sit down and, get things out there.
A super month indeed. Bob, it's my birthday month. How could it not be? Those are the headlines. We hit the C-list for a note on sports bucket lists. I think the best part of my job is when I get to tell people all the places I've gotten to see and all of the games I've witnessed over the years. It's been a blessing to see the World Series, the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup Finals, and the Super Bowl. But for all the championships, there have been plenty of one-day events that are just as memorable. The Indy 500, the Belmont Stakes, and now the Daytona 500. I'm pretty content with my sports bucket list, but of course, there are plenty of more things I would love for these eyes to see. It got me thinking this morning, what other sporting events should be on one's bucket list? So that's a question I'll pose to you. I think I could add the World Cup, the Olympics, the Masters, Wimbledon, and perhaps the Kentucky Derby to my list of dream destinations. Get busy living, folks. Stop talking about going to see something you've always dreamed to see and go see it. Hit me up at The Voice Bobby C on social media and let me know where you'll be going. Maybe I'll meet you there. That's your sports. I'm Bobby C.
Happy birthday, Bobby!